Oh, here we go. All right. Welcome to Friday with Wendler. My name is Jim Wendler, author and creator of 531, and we are back in Ohio. The family took a road trip to the Chicago area, and we drove back home in that snowstorm that I think a lot of people were subjected to, and we paid the price. Took us forever to get home, but we got home safe, no accidents, and now it is Friday. This is James's first day of school in a long time because he left for Chicago. Long story short, my kids have a 2-hour delay today. It is brutally cold. Not as cold as the Chicagoland area where my parents live. Oh my God, was that horrible. Anyway, as always, if you have a question or anything you want answered, ask so in the chat. I will do my best to respond to that. And please, if anyone's watching, if you can hear me, if you can see me, if everything is solid, please let me know in the chat with a thumbs up emoji or some other way of saying that everything is good. Oh my God, I got a lift after this. Good times. All right, so before we get started with the Q&A, we will introduce a new album. These guys are from Italy. And it's not Cripple Bastards, by the way, which I will do at some point. I got the Almost Human CD at I think it was Maryland Death Fest. Or was some festival. I don't know, it wasn't Maryland Death. It was another festival. I got the Cripple Bastards Almost Human CD, and I just had to get it. It's the most ridiculous cover ever. But here we go. This band from Italy is called The Secret. The name of this album, and I don't know what language this is in, but I'm guessing it's Italian, but might be, I don't know what it is. It's Solve, S-O-L-V-E, et, coagula. All right. As you can probably notice if you're familiar with artwork by metal artists, this artwork was done by the great Justin Bartlett. We featured another Justin Bartlett artwork CD last week with Dragged in the Sunlight. And absolutely awesome artwork. Love it. Very cool stuff. So what does The Secret, this came out in 2010, by the way. I have to admit, it kind of had to grow on me a little bit. Total HM2 worship. So if you don't like the HM2 pedal, steer clear of this, but I think they do it right. Definitely have their roots in hardcore. I mean, it was recorded at God City with Kurt Ballou, so that should kind of lead you kind of where it is, but it's definitely got hardcore roots, a little bit of like sludge style heavy, hardcore's kind of got that anyway, at least more modern day hardcore. Fairly brief songs, ripping songs. Let me see what else. Someone said, I just looked up a review. Someone's like, it's got black metal tendencies, and maybe that is, I don't know. I don't really hear it that much. But they have an awesome live video on YouTube, and I believe it was The Secret in Japan. I believe it was in Japan. The opening salvo is unbelievable. Highly recommended. It's great training music if you like your training music super aggressive. Personally, if I'm training hard and I will listen to some, black metal or hardcore or whatever. But I do a lot of my easy, kind of normal, everyday Walrus training to some really... Dude, I listen to Cripple Black Phoenix a ton when I'm training. So anyway, the band is The Secret. The album is Solve et Coagula. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Very good album. I don't even know. I haven't really checked up on what they've been doing lately. I think this might have been their second or third full length. I think they had a couple EPs, so... But again, man, fucking just thick HM2 awesomeness. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Beep. And we'll go to the top, and we got Frank saying, hey, Jim, I have a meet planned, but the last 2 weeks before, I have only a hotel gym to train without a squat rack or bench. Yep. So just bodybuilding machines. Only 3 days before the meet, I'm back home where I can train again in my garage. How would you set this up? Obviously, last deadlift 2 weeks out before I'm leaving home. In hotel, maybe some bodybuilding stuff. 3 days out, light. last squat and bench press. Thanks for your time and have a great weekend. So there's a couple things I would do here. One, I would probably do some kind of leg work, even if it doesn't, this wouldn't be crazy at all. Some kind of leg work just to keep your body moving. And that could be lunges, you know, use weights, step ups, dumbbell squats, something like that. Doesn't have to be crazy. I would probably obviously do some upper body stuff. Make sure you hit your triceps and upper back, lats, the shoulders, right? So whatever you got to do. So that I would definitely do that. I would also, this is just me before I meet, man, the most important thing, obviously, accessory work for me was my abs and low back. So I always make sure those are taken care of, even if it's just body weight stuff, find a way to kind of get that going. So now you got 3 days before the meet. So I think, I don't know if you really have to bench, I'll be honest. If you've done all that accessory work prior, I don't think I would probably do that. And maybe, I guess you're 3 days out. I don't know what you do for squats, maybe like a deload or something, just to kind of sharpen up your form and your mental thing. But I will say this, Frank, listen, I'm not telling you I'm Mr. Mental Strength guy. So, but I'm going to give you a scenario. My last meet that I did at Westside, I had torn my pec. I didn't tear it off the bone, but it was completely black and blue. It was horrible. And I was doing great. Training was doing well. My bench was at its peak. I wasn't able to bench for, I think, 6 weeks prior to the meet. It's something like that, 5 weeks. I don't know what it was. So I was able to overhead press, so I just bombed the shit out of that. I couldn't do any rowing, but I could do like lat pull downs for whatever reason. Anyway, the point being is that entire time, I knew I wanted to do the meet because my squat was so good. I really wanted to squat 1,000. So before, and I had just gotten a new bench shirt. It has a shirt that I had used before, but this one was new. Long story short, instead of like freaking out about the bench and all this other stuff, I used it as a way to challenge myself. And I did a ton of mental games saying how strong I was, how it didn't matter. I didn't even need to fucking lift to bench big. You know, I really set myself up mentally, and it took time. By the time I got to the meet, I remember this is the first time I ever put on this shirt. I opened with 600 on the bench, and I never benched 600 that easy in my life. And I ended up benching the next lift was 675, my best bench ever. And obviously there's a ton of prep work, right, for years and years. I totally get that. But all that mental work that I did, convincing myself that I was the greatest bench presser ever, really helps. And I've done this with other stuff in my life. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, nor do I really do it much anymore because I'm really not competing. But the point is, Frank, if I were you, I would set this up as a challenge to see how awesome I can be. I don't need to do all the fancy, stupid shit that everyone else does. I can just come into a meet and crush shit. And the other thing is, it might help you out. You know, if you're a little overtrained or something, or if you're one of those people that like to do meets before the meet, you know, I see that happen all the time. So this might help you. What I would do though is regardless, whatever situation you are in, make sure that it works for you. You have to have that mindset. I know we're not going to war here, but you signed up for a meet, you want to do well. This is the best way I know how to do it personally. So body build the upper body, you know, make sure you get your back, triceps, some chest work, shoulders work, stuff like that. Make sure your abs and low back are strong. Get your legs moving a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. Don't do like 400 lunges or anything dumb like that, right? Keep your legs fresh, and I think you'll be okay. And Frank says, have a great weekend. You too, buddy. Appreciate that. Good luck, brother. You'll be fine as long as you want to be fine. All right. All right, here we go. Spencer Mills says, currently doing Walrus and doing 5 sets. Okay. Would you recommend increasing the sets or increasing the weight? I would recommend increasing the sets. Don't increase the weight. He's using a 20-pound vest at the moment. Yeah, work yourself up so 10 rounds are pretty easy. Yes. And he asks, thoughts on Walrus 3 times a week and conditioning 3 times a week. Yes, you should already be doing that. Yep. Unless you have no time, you know. Yeah, you should already be doing that. What distance would you recommend for ruck walking? Again, I don't know your physical fitness, but generally speaking, 3 to 5 miles would be pretty standard. You don't have to, do 12-mile rucks or anything like that. But, I say 45 minutes to an hour and a half each time. Doesn't mean you can't go longer. If you have to go shorter, go ahead and do that. But generally speaking, 3 to 5 miles, I think you'll be okay. Toxic Moonburn. Sounds like a joke black metal band. He says, for the past few years, I've had major calf problems. I always get minor pulls that take a few days to resolve. Doctors and PTs don't know what it is. Tests show nothing, and rehab did nothing. Can't run, sprint, or jump anymore. How do you train your kids that have no GPP? I want to start from scratch. Assume I'm a kid who plays video games all day. Well, assuming you're a kid who plays video games all day means you probably have no strength, no mobility, nothing. A lot of those, I've had kids who can't do a bodyweight squat. Most kids obviously can't do pull-ups. I don't know where you are. That's what people talk about kids, not going out and playing. I don't know if people realize how weak some of these kids are. So what I would do, this would be the simplest thing if I was working with you personally, we'd lift 3 days a week and we'd condition 3 days a week. So we would do some type of creatine style program, and we would back off quite a bit. Wouldn't be anything that would smoke you or anything like that, but that way we can kind of get some kind of pacing and some kind of understanding of where you are physically and gradually build on that. So that'd be number one. And I don't know what lifts you would do. Theoretically, we would do, bench, squat, and trap bars, deadlift, or something like that. But nothing, we're not maxing out and doing anything crazy, but we would definitely do some type of creatine style. That's how I train James when I'm with him as a coach. I think it's the best way to train if you're a good coach and know how to do it. For me, it's the best way to train younger kids, really is. Again, you have to tailor it to them. So that'd be number one. Number two is the conditioning. I don't know, so you can't run, sprint, or jump. That's fine. What we'll do is we'll ride the bike, the Airdyne bike, and we will do some kind of ruck walking or walking. Depends on what your fitness is. And the two more things is, one, we would work on your diet. We got to drop your body weight and body fat percentage. I always like, if you're going for a high GPP, right? Part of what I call the average dude test, and we have a body weight for weight ratio that I think is really good. We will work on whatever that would be for you, and we get in your body fat percentage between 10 and 15%. That is a huge part of general physical preparedness. And number three, we would address any kind of mobility and flexibility work with just doing something simple every single day, like the Agile 8 or something like that. And we would, if you want to do some other things like yoga or something, doesn't have to be a lot, but we would address the strength 3 days a week, address the conditioning 3 days a week, address the body weight, right? Because the lower your body weight, the less body fat really both. You don't want to be, 300 pounds. If you're 300 pounds and like 8% body fat, it's still moving 300 pounds. And if you want a high GPP, you're going to have to drop some of that weight. So Dave Tate taught me this probably the first 1 or 2 years, he understood how much, not just body fat percentage, but body weight has to do with general physical preparedness. So that's what I would do. As far as like exact workouts, I don't know. I'd have to see it train. I don't know if you're able to do all the lifts or not. But we would really work, obviously, on building muscle and building strength at the same time, right? A concurrent training program, because we're also including conditioning and mobility. But really, toxic moonburn, this is what I would tell you. There's no secrets. You got to do it 3 days a week, lifting, 3 days a week, conditioning. Pick all that stuff that you're able to do and just be as consistent as possible. The diet, simplest way to do it is a little bit of protein at each meal, little, fruits and vegetables, some carbs, 4 or 5 meals a day or something like that. No junk food, no sugar. I'd aim, if I were you, because you're feel like you're, at least 90 to 95% compliance on all meals. And I would say give yourself 2 years. 2 years to build yourself into something more, because it seems like you're just keep on getting re-injured. Imagine if you would have started this when your calf first started hurting. imagine how far you'd be along. So it's a long process, but just today's Friday, it starts today. Whatever the next meal you have, make sure it's perfect. Throw out all the crap, get your body in order, get your mind in order, and be very militant about how you approach everything. Because for me, that's the only way I can kind of get some stuff done if I'm kind of in a funk. It's got to be militant, it's got to be non-negotiable, and it's got to be kind of a change in attitude and a change in how you see things. And I'm not trying to be like Tony Robbins here, but my God, does that help. And good luck, buddy. Listen, it doesn't need to be terribly fancy. All right, just be consistent, and don't overload the lifts and do stupid shit like that. We're just getting fit and awesome, and everything else works itself out. Jeremy Stump says, "Hey Jim, I really appreciate the content. It's been great for our program." I assume you're a coach then, right? Oh, okay, here we go. Jeremy writes, "We have 6 platforms with around 30 kids attending our sessions with a great deal of variance and strength." Yep, just like everyone. I know how that goes. "Any recommendations for logistics and efficiency? It seems like kids get lost during accessories when left to their own devices." Okay, so this is what I would do. We do everything on a clock. Occasionally, I let the kids go on their own. Like, say, you got 12 minutes, you got these 3 lifts, let's just hammer the shit out of them. But if I was not in that situation, I would put all lifts on a timer. So you have 5 kids at a rack. First set, everyone's got to do 1 set, right? The first set. So whatever weight and reps, kids got to be active, changing weights. In between the main lift, they always have to be doing something. So for example, on the days we bench press, we will do some kind of lower body lift in between the lifts. Okay, but all the main lifts are done on the timer. They have to be done with their assistance lift before they start their next lift. And it depends on how many kids are working, how heavy we're going, the reps, stuff like that. But it's generally about, we do a set of the main lift every 2 minutes. So they have 2 minutes to do whatever reps they have. Get up, rack the barbell, get up, do their dumbbell squats or their snatches or whatever else they're doing. So that's their, you got the main lift and assistance lift. And then what I would do is I would choose another 2 lifts to do and do them the same exact way, even if it's assistance. So for example, let's say you do bench and bench and dumbbell squat. Then your next 2 assistance lifts we're going to use the rack, right? So we're going to overhead press, and then we're going to use the benches. We're going to do dumbbell rows. All right. So we're going to do 3 sets of each, again on a timer. So everyone starts on the press, and when they're done, they go to the row, 3 sets, and then finally you can choose something to do in the rack. Let's just say barbell curls, and then maybe they'll do lunges, body weight or dumbbell lunges. So again. So everything is on a timer and planned. Now it's going to take some time to get there. It's going to take some patience for you because a lot of the kids aren't going to understand it. But it took me a couple months to get this thing really rolling like that. Now the training is a billion times more efficient. We get so much done in a short amount of time. And I've said this before. Training large groups is a skill. You can't just expect the kids to know what to do or you know what to do. So it takes some time and be patient. When I first started doing this, we just did 1 main lift or 1 lift and 1 assistance lift. That's it. And we just worked on the timing. I didn't try to get everything done. I didn't expect to do a full workout on the first couple weeks on this kind of timer because we just didn't, we had to work out all the bugs. The kids had to learn how to do that. So you got to be patient about it. So if I was you, that's what I would do. 1 main lift and assistance lift, and we just work on, the timing, the kids changing the weights, the kids being proactive and getting shit done. And again, it's going to take time. So that's what I would do if the kids are just kind of wandering around. Thankfully, we don't really have that problem, but that if it became a problem, I would just, everything is on me now. All the sets are done on me. And it works. That's the best way to do large groups. Hell, that's what I do when I'm training one-on-one. Everything's on a timer. And we obviously adjust, right? It's not everything's going to be perfect. So yeah, that's what I would do, man. But again, Jeremy, you have to be patient with this stuff, because if not, it's going to drive you crazy. You'll be there for 4 hours trying to get shit done. So just be very patient. And the other thing is, all the kids have their own sheets with all the weights listed, so they don't have to, look around or guess or anything like that. So, all right, Kinger44 says, when doing Cryptea assistance, are you going to failure or leaving a rep in the tank? Sometimes you go to failure, sometimes you don't. Most of the time you probably won't, especially on the bigger lifts. It would depend on what lift you're doing, right? Just like the press is different than the squat as far as the recovery, like dumbbell squats are different than tricep pushdowns or something. So it would depend on the lift. Generally speaking, if you don't know how to run the Cryptea program, or you're learning, don't do anything to failure. Just learn how to get the pace done, learn how to do good reps, be patient. You don't have to stick to the guidelines time-wise. You have to understand, when we are training to raise, that's all we do, right? As coaches, we're just raising their general physical preparedness. All right, I will never put any kid in a situation where they cannot handle the training pace. We will back off and let them adapt over time. The goal is not to hammer the shit out of them or make them feel sick and stuff like that. Doesn't mean they're not working hard. But I'm never going to put a kid or anyone under a dumbbells or barbell when they're exhausted and they can't maintain great position. So generally speaking, it sounds like you don't have much experience. I've had about 7 or 8 years, probably more, of doing this style of training. When you first start out, first 6 months, just learn how to get the pace down, learn what your body feels like, maintaining good technique, and then it all starts to build up. The problem is everyone wants everything like in a week. All right, you're not going to train. I got kids that they're training. I couldn't believe the shit that they did, strength and pace wise. It's unbelievable. Hells didn't start there. Didn't even come close to starting there. It just takes time. Okay, so just please be patient, guys. And maybe that's the theme of this live stream. You just don't go to failure or at anything with the Cryptea program if you're not incredibly physically fit and really don't have a handle on it. Mr. Hayes says, good morning, Jim. My son is going to be a freshman next year. In your opinion, would it be beneficial at all to have him take creatine, or is he too young? Thanks. Should have added to help him build muscle, of course. Yes, you'll be fine. You don't have to give him like 30 grams of creatine. 5 grams a day is fine. So yeah, and I think honestly, I take creatine. I'm burping up shit right now. I take creatine, and obviously I'm still training and all that, but I do most of the stuff I do now for just health wise, and I think creatine is incredibly beneficial, especially for your brain. So yeah, I think he'd be fine. But it also depends. You say he's a freshman. I've seen freshmen come in looking like, they did 6 tours in Vietnam, and I've seen freshmen come in that look like they've they look like they're 8 years old. So just understand, just because you start someone on creatine or they're 14 or 13 or whatever age they are, just understand that everyone's going to develop differently. One of my friends, he graduated high school, say maybe 5'8" or 5'9". His first year after high school, he was 6'3" or 6'4". So everyone's going to develop differently. And especially kids that don't, everyone has like what I call 2 puberties. There's like the first time when they get hair under their pits, and the second time when they become a man. And those 2 are going to be radically different. And just because you went through puberty doesn't mean you're going to turn into a hulking mass. It's going to take some time. So just please understand that. Don't freak out if he's not, 400-pound bencher from taking the creatine right away, which I'm assuming you're not, but just it needs to be said. Mr. Blankenship, he writes, good morning. In the Forever book, was there any rhyme or reason that you put templates in that specific order? Nope. No. I had, if you would have seen my desk, which I'm sitting at right now, I had stacks of notes and notebooks, and I write everything on, most of the time on computer print paper. So I just had all these notes, and I just picked one up, what I wrote on something and just, all my notes and stuff, and I just wrote them and they put them in whatever order. So no, there's no order to do them in, because not everything, listen, training is very hard to predict. Just because you do X, Y, and Z doesn't mean you're going to get A, B, and C. So there's always going to be things you're going to need to change and adapt to. So I am not a big believer in putting together like a specific 1-year plan. You can have general ideas, but that shit's going to change quite a bit. So you're going to have to learn how to adapt. So no, the answer to your question, so I don't sound like a politician, is no, there is not. Boop, boop, boop. All right. I just lost my place again. Where am I? All right, here we go. Mr. Lonnie Watson. He says benches up 7 pounds. Perfect reps are the key. Just doing work and dialing in assistance. There you go. Lonnie, I know you very well, Lonnie. Whatever you're gonna do the next 2 weeks, this is for Lonnie's sake, is don't kill yourself, don't ruin yourself, don't work so hard. Just have good days, Lon. The more good days you can, and as a coach, I have to do this too. We're just stacking good days, all right? Because once I start pushing a little too much, whether it's with the team or anyone else, we go up and then we just, where if we would have just, we wanted this, all right? So just understand that. You don't want to dig yourself in a ditch. All right, Lon, but I appreciate you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Hope your wife's doing well. The Real Patcher says, after a 4-month break, how should I restart 531? Best way to set a realistic training max again, progress it, and approach assistance conditioning without rushing or getting beat up. All right, so this is what I would do. I would start with the empty bar. Let's say it's bench press day. Let's say you previously benched 200 pounds. This is what I would do. Bar, 95, 135, right? And then I would do 155 for a double or triple or something like that. And then just see how 175 feels. Let's say you do 175 and you did 5 reps, but the last rep was kind of like this. 175 would be your training max. I would do that for all your lifts. Just work up slowly. Once like a set of 5, it feels kind of weird and like you feel okay. Just set that as your training max and then go from there. All right, so just do that each day. For example, when a kid comes back, let's say it's bench day, we will work up. I will just watch the bar and see how it is. I will set their training max right there and then we'll just go back and start with the Creatine style training right from there. So they'll do kind of like a 1.5 workout, so to speak. The workup takes 7 minutes. It's not a big deal. I would only lift 3 days a week. I would start, ready for this, 1 main lift a day, 3 to 4 assistance lifts a day. I would only do maybe 2 to 3 sets of assistance. All right, I'm telling you, this is what I would do. Training max, very conservative, 2 to 3 sets of 3 to 4 assistance lifts, 3 days a week. All right, so either you do, 9-day cycle or you just do a 7-day cycle. I don't care what you do. All right, that's up to you. And then I would, for conditioning, the first probably 4 weeks, I would choose 2 kind of easy days, ruck walks, treadmill, incline walks, something like that. And maybe 1 hard day of like a prowler or airdyne sprints or something like that. That's what I would do. I would really make sure that you left each training session, whether it be conditioning or lifting, with a ton of energy and ready to go. I'd rather have you leave stuff in the tank rather than just smoke yourself the first 2 workouts and then you're going to be sore and feel like crap. That's what 100% I would do. So again, lift 3 days a week, 1 main lift, 3 to 4 assistance lifts, maybe 2 to 3 sets of those assistance lifts, just kind of getting back into it. Don't need you to be terribly sore. We're just going to build and build. And I would probably keep that up for 2 straight cycles of, maybe whatever that would be for you, how long that would take. So, and just let your body adapt slowly. Do not overdo it at all, at all. Zaffer Canbasic says, hello coach, I watched your last video about your athletes who didn't pass 265 for the trap bar for 15 reps. That was our heaviest set that we would do. and did 365 for 15. How is this happening? High reps with perfect form is the new strength king? No. We just do good reps. We are consistent. Things are locked in. The standards are very high for how we do stuff. And we push the assistants, right? We work hard on the assistants work, and we are consistent, all right? You don't need to increase 5 pounds or 10 pounds all the time or anything like that to make big jumps. How it works, I don't know. We just, again, good work done. And the best way to explain this is, I don't know if anyone lives in farm country, but we live out in the sticks, and a lot of these kids have what we call farm strength, or at least a lot of the dads do too, and the grandfathers. And they're just picking up auto sub max stuff all the time, carrying stuff, doing that, and that just builds up over time, right? So if you work on a farm for like 6 years straight, it's not like one hay bale is 5 pounds, then you go up to 10 pounds and 15. It's just consistent work done over a long period of time ends up working. And the other big thing is our kids are not tired all the time. So when we ask them to push a little bit, they're ready to go. Their bar speed is really solid. Again, we're not just doing reps like this, like you see. It's up, hold, control on the way down, up, hold, control on the way down, explosive reps. Everything needs to be dialed in. So yes. How it works, I don't care. People, let someone else figure that shit out. But I'm guessing it's the consistency of doing things right all the time. There you go. And not burning yourself out. Those things I think would be the best thing. Or best explanation. I don't worry about let someone else worry about all that other stuff. I don't care. I just know what works for our team, what works for my manner of coaching and stuff like that. And that seems to work very well. And especially you have to understand when you're working with, sports teams, not everyone really wants to be there either. Asking all these kids to work up and go bananas is unrealistic beyond belief. We just want good stuff. And then, about 10% of the kids, you have to kind of hold them back a little bit from burning themselves out. I worked with a kid. This is a fun story, I guess. Fun if you're a coach. For 2 years, he never listened to what I said. He just put on a ton of weight. And I'll tell him a couple times, and after a while, I just let it go. I'm not going to battle with a kid to do things correct if he doesn't want to do it. I got 60 kids in there. If you don't want to listen, fine, you just do whatever you want. Doesn't bother me at all. There's 59 other kids, for the most part, that want some help. You're not going to believe this. For 2 years, he had horrible back issues, right? Overloading the squat, butts coming up on the bench, deadlift sucks. Again, I'm not there to fucking hold a pacifier in his mouth. Maybe some coaches want to battle with that. I do not. Finally, comes back after injuries and all this other shit. And I asked him, do you want to get healthy and do you want to play? And he's like, yes. I'm like, then you have to do everything I say. And it's been 4 weeks now. He's had 0 back issues because we're using the correct weights for what his body needs. The goal is not to just smash the shit out of him. All right. And one day he said, hey, why am I doing this weight? I did this other weight a week ago. I don't give a shit what you did last week. This is what we're doing this week, and we're going to do it with perfect form. And you're only doing X reps because you haven't earned the right to push that hard. Magically, everything feels better. Woo! Guys, a lot of your issues, whether it be technique or form or whatever you want to say, recovery, all that other stuff, most of it comes down to improper loading. It really does. I hate to say it. All right, Suspense is Killing Me says, what's up, boss? Happy Friday. What are your general thoughts on using micro plates or fractional plates for incremental loading on the barbell lifts? I think someone asked this question last week. If you want to do it, you can. I don't know. Maybe if you want to set a PR, But for most everyday training and stuff like that, I have those. I think I have like 1/4 pound plates or something like that. I have like a big bag of them, and they're fun to do. But I don't know. I guess if you want to try it, I don't know. Listen, we've had a lot of success without it, so I'm not saying that you have to have them at all. But if you want to use them, go ahead and do it. So, Suspense. This is the older I get and the more experience I have and kind of the understanding of the training process, and I'm nowhere near where I need to be as a coach. I feel like an idiot half the time. There's a lot of this stuff that I thought were like all-time rules in training or whatever you want to say just kind of get thrown out of the window with a lot of stuff. I talked to Rhodes about this. We had a long talk when I was climbing stairs, and it was kind of depressing. It's like, man, I learned all this stuff, and then it doesn't seem to hold true in the real world. So, all right, Mr. Blankenship said, my competitive powerlifting days are behind me. I'm a first responder in pursuing balance with strength and conditioning, but I do have some ego in regards to the big three with the straight bar. Okay. All right, it got cut up here. Is there anything wrong with doing all the main work with a safety squat bar, Swiss bar, and trap bar? Because I have no idea where my ceiling is, and I think it's more beneficial for my job, and my ego is taken out of it. Is this okay? 100%. I've said this last week. If I was an older lifter or someone, you know, whatever, let's just say older lifter, whatever that means to you, I would 100% use a safety squat bar on a 2 to 3 inch above parallel box. I would use the trap bar, it doesn't have to be high handles, and I would use the Swiss bar for my bench and for my overhead pressing, and then I would use the sled or a prowler. That'd be my big things. And just, you know, have some good times with the assistance work, and however you want to do that is fine. But yeah, 100%. You got to take your ego out of this shit, guys, because too many people train for the day and not train for the year. And when you start training for the day, which can be fun, but it's going to wear you out, it's going to get you hurt, it's going to make you make dumb decisions. So my job when I'm working, for example, whether it's the kids in the weight room or the people I work with in the garage, part of my job is to hold people back a little bit and just do what is necessary and not what they want to do. And it's not for everyone, I understand that. A lot of times you got to push the kids a little harder, but a lot of kids, they like, listen, this is not, it may make you feel good right now, but it's not going to help you in the long term. We have to look long term. So the answer, Mr. Blankenship, is yes, go ahead and do it. And take your ego out of this stuff and just have good training sessions, guys. Scram Balam says, what do you think of Indiana's run at the title this year, being a smaller school? I don't know if they're a smaller school. They're just not like a blue blood. Well, first of all, one of the starting players on defense went to London, so I was rooting for Indiana all along, and I'm super happy for them. I know the work because I know the kid and his family very well. I know the work that went into it. I know the massive ups and downs for him to get on the field and the work that he did, not just in college, but when he was here in London. So I'm super pumped and happy. After the game was, throughout the season, I'd send him messages and stuff. And then his name was Isaiah Jones, by the way. He's number 46. Did an amazing job this year. But I still bust his balls all the time, so he doesn't get scot-free. So when he comes back, again, Isaiah, just so I talk about a kid, Zach. Zach is Isaiah's little brother. So I'll go back and bust his balls. He had a really awesome mustache, but I don't know. Mustaches are apparently a thing. Mustache without the beard. There we go. All right. Yes, I'm super happy for him, man. They did things, and they worked out the transfer portal and NIL money very well, better than a lot of other teams did. And I think it's a different style of coaching than in the past. We're dealing with all this stuff. I think it takes a different style of coaching. I don't know what it is, but it's very unique. Just like, for example, training someone one-on-one and training 50 kids at once, two very different skills. Not one is definitely not better than the other, because training people one-on-one is a pain in the ass too. But it takes a different kind of coach. All right, here we go. Stubbs McLeod. All right. You must be a weatherman. Weather on the nines with Stubbs McLeod. Dick Iceluge. Hey, Jim, he says, I lift at a commercial gym and it's packed. Would running one main lift and FSL with Walrus accessories for lower lifts. So one main lift and FSL with Walrus for the lower lifts. Okay. And Cryptea for upper be a good alternative to full Cryptea. Yes. Listen, if you're in a busy commercial gym, it can be a shit show, and you're going to have to be two things. You're going to have to be flexible, and you're going to have to understand what you're actually trying to do in the training program. As an example, let's say you want to squat. If you're doing the Krypteia program, you want to do squats and dumbbell incline bench. And for whatever reason, you can't do it. The purpose is to have a good pace, alternating a main lift with assistance. So you choose another assistance exercise that's very much like the dumbbell incline press, right? That allows you to continue the training program without a hiccup. It's not perfect, but it's damn near perfect because you understand the principles and what you're trying to do. So for example, if I was in a busy commercial gym, okay, and I had a bench press, and I would bring over a dumbbell, I would do dumbbell deadlifts, or dumbbell squat, and maybe dumbbell straight leg deadlifts, because you can just wheel those over. Maybe when you're squatting though, right, you maybe don't have access to shit. So what I would do is I would do push-ups or dips if they have a dip attachment, and then I would also do chin-ups. Just grab, you don't have to have a chin-up bar, just something over there you can hang on the side of the rack, and just do pull-ups. And so everything is kind of self-contained. But yes, the answer, Stubbs, is you are 100% correct. You'll be fine. And the most important thing is you kind of understand what you're doing, and you're adapting to the situation rather than just throwing everything away because everything's not perfect, because it rarely will ever be perfect. Mr. Blankenship says, hey, is there anything as too low of a training max? Yeah. Currently running at 70% training max with the thought of a lot of cycles of progress, not hitting a wall. That's fine. As long as you got some resistance and you're feeling, yes, you'll be fine. And yes, there is too low of a training max. I don't know what that number is. Every lift is going to be different. Every lifter is going to be different. The one thing I do know that when people send me videos and they'll say, this is my 85% set, and I watch it, I'm like, dude, that should be your training max. The way that's moving, your technique is not very good. So sometimes I wonder how honest people are with that stuff. So yes, there can be too low. What that would be, I don't know. So yeah, just be smart about it and just work yourself up. Make sure you're doing good assistance. Make sure the reps are performed correctly, instead of, like, I know a lot of people, this happens all the time in powerlifting, is when they're doing a lighter set, so maybe they're just, working up to their squat sets. A lot of times guys get hurt doing those lighter, easier sets because they're not 100% ready to go. They're just kind of taking it easy. So don't just take it easy because the weight feels light. Really dial in. When I'm working with people, personally, there's always cues that they need to hear. It's going to be individual to them. But one of the things, like when we're squatting, when we're opening up our knees and sitting back onto a box, we don't want to plop down. We want to build that tension. And once they kind of get it, dude, it's amazing what happens. So just understand, don't just do the reps, even if it's a low set, just, like this, just make sure every rep is perfect. It's not going to be that perfect, but you understand what I'm saying. All right, here we go. Beep, 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 beep. Carpenter and Sons. Is that what that says? Yeah, I guess it does. All right, here we go. Carpenter and says, hey, you have helped me a ton. I appreciate that, both to you, Carpenter, and your sons. So thank you very much. I love to hear that stuff. Okay, Halloween says, hey, I want to add some rotational movements to my training. Okay, do you think something like landmine rotations are good to add? Or should I stick with rotational ball throws? Why don't you do both? Why don't you do one for a couple of weeks and the other one for a couple of weeks? That way you have a bigger toolbox. You don't just do one. And I wouldn't necessarily do them at the same time or in the same program. I mean, you could, but yeah, those are fine. Those are great. Yes, remember, guys, I've said this a billion times. Training is not Sophie's choice, right? You don't have to do everything all the time. So yes, I think you should do, if you want to add something like that and those lifts appeal to you for whatever reason, go ahead and do them. And you don't have to choose just one. All right, Mr. Kane says, hey, apologies if this has been asked. Thoughts about getting accessories done, i.e. warm-up, 3 to 4 movements, 4 sets of 25, done before main lifts. with no additional supplemental lifts after. Yes, we do that a lot in morning training, and we do that a lot during in-season training. So 100% we do, especially on our lower body days, right? When we're doing squats and deadlifts, we will do a lot of our assistance beforehand. A lot of assistance beforehand. We've had way better success after that. I should say, we've had a lot of success doing that, and I think it works better than I ever thought it would. Again, remember we talked about all these things that get embedded in your head about rules of training. It was always do the main lift first, right? Doesn't necessarily hold true, and not just doesn't hold true in a few situations. It doesn't hold true in a lot of situations. So doesn't mean you shouldn't do that or you have to do your assistance first. But I have found that it works incredibly well getting the body warmed up, again, especially during the in season, right? Kids are during the school day. It's a long, kids are sitting in desks all day. They do a lot better with their trap bar and their squat work when they do their assistance, even if it's not lower body, just getting the body moving and doing shit. So yes. All right, here we go. PZ, we'll just call you PZ. Says, hey Jim, I hope you're doing well. Well, thank you. How would you go about a lagging squat and bench while overhead press and deadlift are progressing better in comparison? I'd be thankful. You got 50% here lifts are awesome. Right? So this is something Dave Tate taught me. It's like, listen, not everything's going to go up. And instead of focusing, for example, on your shitty deadlift, you should have gratitude about how awesome your press and deadlift are doing. All right. There's going to be these ebbs and flows of training, ebbs and flows of the bench and stuff like that. All the lifts are going to go like that. So what I would do is just ride it out. The worst thing you could probably do is try and smash the shit out of your squat and bench with volume and all this other crazy stuff. That's the worst thing you could do, because those are going to plummet. The overhead press and deadlift will probably plummet too. So just what I would do is have gratitude that your press and deadlift, keep on working on your squat and bench. Whether it's a technique thing or it's always going to be some kind of strength thing, obviously, right? So just try and address that stuff, wherever that might be. And at some point, your squat and bench are going to raise and your deadlift and press are going to take a dump. So, dude, 100%, you are exactly where everyone's been. Have gratitude that you are making progress in 2 lifts. That's amazing. All right? Just be grateful, because not everything's going to go up all the time. That is, I don't know if people believe that stuff. But yeah, you'll be fine, man. Just don't give up hope. Keep on trying to find little ways around stuff, and then those lifts will break through. As my friend Joey Waters once said, the longer that I stall, the bigger the payoff in the end. So there you go. Yep. And listen, the other thing is maybe your deadlift and press are going up, and that's affecting your squat and bench. That could be very much true. That's how it goes too. That's kind of like when you're trying to get stronger and put on muscle and trying to get in great condition. There's always going to be compromise in all that stuff. So, all right, here we go. Hello, Jim. How to approach training when you can only weight train almost right before pickup game? So you lift and then commute to game and then the game. What I would do, again, I don't know how you're doing this. I don't know how many days a week you have games and stuff, but I would do, for the lower body stuff, I would do very much Prilipin stuff, 5-3-1 Prilipin, right? That's how I would do for the main lift. So most of your sets would be between, even your top sets, you might do 2 sets of 3 reps at the top set or something like that, 2 sets of 5, 3 sets of 2, something like that, something that falls into the 5-3-1 Prilipin thing. And I would only pick 2 assistance lifts that day. And for the most part, they would be abdominal or upper body push, upper body pull. I would keep the leg stuff to a minimum. Other thing I would do, let's just say every day you lift, you got a game, I would box squat to keep the stress down on your legs, because you can obviously the reason why people box squat so well is you're not as sore. It's great for in-season training, so that's another thing I would do. And again, I would limit the lower body assistance work too. If anything, maybe some lower back, just kind of easy training or glute ham work. I probably wouldn't do any single leg work other than maybe just warm it up, to kind of get some range of motion stuff in there. So yeah, but Prilipin, 531 Prilipin or something like that, box squatting 100%, and be very smart with the assistance, maybe just 2 to 3 assistance exercises and no lower body assistance other than maybe some glute ham raises or reverse hypers or back raises, but nothing taken to failure or anything crazy like that. So you shouldn't be sore. So that's what I would 100% recommend. Mr. Superstar says, not lifting related. Okay. But once I asked you for your top 3 black metal bands, is there any death metal, new or old, you're a fan of? Yeah. I love Deicide's Legion, The Bleeding, and Tomb by Cannibal Corpse. What's the name of the album after Legion? I think is awesome. Boy, that got roasted by the press. The Deicide. Oh my God. It's a white cover. Whatever. It's got Children of the Underworld. I mean, Morbid Angel. Anything. I think Chris Barnes. I love Chris Barnes' era of Cannibal, but especially Tomb. And I think The Bleeding is as good as you're going to get. Morbid Angel, up until that last album was a stinker. Necrophagias with Phil as a guitarist, I think is awesome. Obviously Portal. I mean, I've been talking Portal. What's that crazy band from Spain? Oh my God, they're kind of Portal-esque. I just listened to them the other day. Anyway, great band from Spain. I think they're from Basque, maybe. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Whatever, they're awesome too. So yeah, and obviously I love Possessed. That Possessed was like one of the first extreme bands I got into. Not a huge fan of Death, which I know is sacrilege, but whatever. That's just how my ears hear it. And I'm sure I'm missing out on a ton of bands here. But most of the old stuff I'm a huge fan of, because that's kind of how I grew up. We grew up in that era. Oh my God, I'm sure I'm losing some stuff here. Entombed, obviously. Loved Entombed. So yeah. Riley says, what have been your favorite movements to use for these accessory circuits? I don't know what you're asking there, Riley. Accessory circuits. I don't know what you're asking, Riley, so you can go ahead and ask again. We generally, for assistance, we use any kind of upper body push, any kind of upper body pull, and something what we call single leg or core, which is just kind of lower body or ab and low back movements. And I think the bigger toolbox you have, you can use a ton of different movements. I think the better off you're going to be. So when we do assistance, again, it's any upper body push, any upper body pull, and what we call single leg and core, a million different things. So it could be dumbbell squats, kettlebell snatches, devil's press, lunges, any single leg work, hanging leg raises, ab wheel, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that we choose. We just usually choose 3, generally speaking. 3, so 1 of each. All right, here we go. Again, I don't know exactly what you're asking there, buddy. Mr. Taylor says, thanks for what you do. Thank you, Taylor. I've been following your program for, 15 years. It always works. I have page 118 from your book, Training Rules of Being Awesome, hanging on my desk. That's awesome, man. Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate that. I'm glad you've had success, brother. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Donovan Shernick says, hey, 45 years old. Okay, I recently hit a plateau with my bench and squat. Chat GPT. What? Which recommended I drop to 80% training max and stop doing supplemental. I still do assistance lifts. Yeah, you can do that. Listen, I don't know what the answer is, but generally speaking, what I would probably do is I would watch you lift and be completely horribly honest with you where your training max should be. Okay. And then I would look for gaps in what you've been doing training wise, and not just like to drive up the squat and bench. We just drive up your general physical preparedness. I think that is horribly underlooked. So what I mean by that is we look at your pacing of your training. Is your training like taking like 5 minutes in between sets? If you're just farting around, if you're not doing stuff in between stuff, and then I would also tell you, Donovan, that you don't train for the day and for the workout. You train with a year in at least a year, right? Looking forward. So we just concentrate on having great days. And the other thing with the bench, you got to build some muscle, right? On your shoulders, chest, upper back, lats, arms, right? So if you're not currently focused on that, that needs to be done. And for the squat, again, the loading can be an issue, and also the abs and low back. If you don't have strong abs and low back, that's going to be a huge limiter. So that's something that, I don't know if just doing more of the same thing is going to help you at this point. I think raising your general fitness level and what your body's going to get exposed to, the better off you're going to be. There we go. Once Upon the Cross was the Deicide name. There you go. Love that album. And did you know Steve Asheim, the drummer, writes all their shit? That's insane. He's the drummer. Oh, he's a great drummer. He's still pounding, man. He's still great. Still got those toms, like a Lombardo. Just basically vertical. All right. Aiden Gallagher says, I know this is a gay question, but what do you want to be remembered for as your main philosophy in training or whatever? I don't think it's just 5-3-1 for you at this point. Well, I'm going to give you I don't care if I'm remembered. I don't have a big ego about this stuff, about anything. I want to be remembered for being a good husband, a good friend, a good person, to the kids I work with, someone that they enjoyed being with. And I want to be a good dad. That's it. I've told Mason and James this: if you're welcome to sell the books when I'm dead, or you just fucking don't do it, I don't care. I don't care how I'm remembered, because it's those people that are the most important. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't have this narcissistic view that I'm going to be remembered, because how many billions and trillions of people have existed, and most of us don't know any of them. So I don't know if that is going to be what you're looking for, Aiden. I don't know. I love doing what I do. Absolutely love it. I love being able to help my community, help everyone listening, all that stuff. I love being a dad. I love trying to help out, but let's just be honest. 50 years from now, no one will remember me. And that's fine. A lot of people don't get remembered. I'm okay with that, I guess is the best way to say it. 50 years, fuck 20 years. So anyway, not to be all morbid or anything, because it's not. It's just an understanding that I'm not the center of the universe, right? And I think more people need to understand that. I just want to be a good person and do the best I can. Have an enjoyable life. That's about it. All right, here we go. All right, Riley Kane. I don't know if that answered your question, Aiden, but that's just kind of how I feel. He says, regarding doing accessories as warm-up before the main lift. Okay, all right. So what we do is, since we train full body, right? If we're doing squat or deadlift, trap bar, we will do upper body push, upper body pull. So anything that fits in those exercises, press, any kind of overhead press, incline press, dumbbell incline press, bench press, dips, push-ups, any kind of shoulder work, front raises, side raises, anything like that. Pulling is obviously pull-ups. We have a variety of rows that we do. Obviously, you can use lat pull downs, any row machine, barbell curls, reverse curls. What else is there? Yes, there's a million of those things. So I just choose a couple. We don't have a ton of equipment in our weight room, so we choose a lot of the same stuff. And we just pound the shit out of them for 12 minutes or so, and then we get lifting. And the kids generally, let's say 10 to 15 minutes, they can get 5 sets of 2 exercises at least, right? Because you're not just doing a set and hanging out. You got to learn how to train hard and pick up the pace. So yeah, and then obviously before bench, it would be all lower body stuff. So, and ab work. So that would be dumbbell squats for us, devil's press, which is basically a two-arm, two-handed dumbbell snatch, single arm snatch, dumbbell power cleans, ab wheel, hanging leg raises, stuff like that. So we just, if we're doing a lower body lift, we'll do upper body. And when we're doing an upper body lift, we'll do a lower body. It's as simple as you can get. I love it. All right, here we go. The guy with the Arcus says, "Hi, man. Congratulations for your work. Thank you very much. I enjoy very much the Boring But Big program, but sometimes in squat day, I feel very tired to do assistant work. Bulgarian split squats. Is it okay to skip it?" I'm not sure what you're asking here. But yeah, you can just do your, I don't know how you, if you're doing Boring But Big, you don't need to be doing Bulgarian split squats. You're fine. Yes, just do your main work, the supplemental work, some maybe abs and some pulling work, and you're good. Mr. Blankenship says, any plans to go back on Table Talk with Dave? Or a podcast with Zach? Those are always great. Yeah, if they want me on. I've been on a million times. Everyone kind of knows what I have to say. I'm not breaking it. Listen, I am breaking new ground on some of the shit that we're doing, but it's not, I don't know. It's not what the general questions are, and I don't think it's going to interest a lot of the majority of people, right? The stuff that we're doing. So, Mr. Blankenship says, separate question. If you have very light training max on the main movements, should you be training hard and going to failure on assistance work as long as form is good, but really focusing on the bodybuilding? You can. It doesn't mean you have to. It's not appropriate. We had a guy who hadn't been training in months. Like, it's not appropriate for him to do it. And you don't want to do it all the time. You can't do it all the time. So you listen. Just because one thing is super easy doesn't mean the other thing has to be balls to the wall. All right. Training, and I understand that, right? So like when your lifting goes up and you're doing volume, your conditioning is going to come down, but you don't have to do, just because let's say your lifting is a little bit down doesn't mean you got to go run because your lifting's down. It might mean your body needs a little bit of a rest too. So that's Blankenship. I don't think you're like scared not to work hard. Listen, I get it. But it, how do I put this? It doesn't always have to be to the death. All right. Training is an activity in which the amount of days that you work consistently are more important than one single workout. That's the best advice I guess I can give. And I've seen it happen way too many times bad. People trying to make up for lost time in like 2 weeks. It doesn't work like that. All right. Just good solid days. Yeah. If you really want to push sometimes, go ahead, but it's not always going to be like that. So, okay. What does a strength test look like every few cycles? Do you have your guys do it during deload week? Coming up to my first deload week and just wondering, we, after maybe, I don't know, a couple cycles or something, if a kid looks good, we'll just have them work up. So it's not a planned date. We don't plan it out if that's what you're asking, but they got to get a whole bunch of cycles in, a bunch of weeks of just good solid training before we even come close to even working up. But the test day isn't a test day. I think that's a waste of time. For what I do, kids don't have high GPP. It's just a waste of a training day. We will work it into their regular training, but you got to give like 6 to 10 weeks of solid average training, so to speak, to go up and test. So I hope that helps, brother. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Ricky. But if a kid looks like they're going to have a good day, then we can go ahead and push. If not, then we just have another great day and maybe wait a little bit longer. So I don't like testing days, because what happens if the kids have a bad day? Then they feel like everything has gone to shit. And I don't think that's appropriate. It just is not a good thing for I don't want to ruin 6, 10, 12, whatever the weeks are, and base their self-esteem, so to speak, and their, all their work because they had a bad day. If they look like they're good, man, let's let it rip. So, and we just work up just like you would normally. AJ says, hey, when should I do PRs like 1RM test at meets? That's what I would probably recommend. But if you want to do a 1RM test, make sure you got good spotters. And not a big fan of planning it, but you got to give yourself several cycles to just build up. What do you do when you can't hit a set that day, but you've already done that same weight last week? Basically a bad day. That means your training max is too high. Yeah. Way too high. Listen, you should be able to always get at least 5 reps on your final set, even if you got the flu. Yeah, so your what I'm telling you right now, AJ, is your training max is way too high. Way too high. Heavyweight. Much appreciated, brother. But AJ, I don't know what we would never ever had a guy ever have that happen to it because we use the appropriate training weight for that human being. So here's heavyweight. Just wanted to share, when I first started Cryptea, rest was 2 minutes. After 7 cycles, I do not rest more than a minute or minute 20 at most. Yes, thank you, heavyweight. Listen, you're going to get your ass kicked a little bit. I totally understand that, but once you get your ass kicked, you got to back off and just take the appropriate rest. So you'll get used to it. And just, again, we talk about start light and progress slow. If you don't know when to go, just take an extra 30 seconds or a minute. It's fine. It will build up over time. All right. You don't have to go bananas from the get-go. You can try, but you're going to be tired. The shit's going to go wrong. You're going to feel like crap. The weight's going to feel heavy. All right. So just be patient with it. And when Zach first came in here during the winter, our first workout, tough times, brother, because his body hadn't adapted to it. After, I think, 4 or 5 weeks, we did a very similar training session. Not only were the training session take shorter, his lifts went up. His 3 rep, we kind of gave him a little test. 3 rep went up to a 6 rep max, and his FSL work was 5 pounds heavier. Instead of doing sets of 5 and just getting his ass kicked, he was doing sets of 10. And leading up to that, those weren't crazy workouts. I just had to see where he was, and then kind of back off a little bit. And then you can watch, you know how you feel. If you're ready to do a set, you'll do a set. I just trained James yesterday. I just watched his breathing, watched his head position, and I watched his bar speed. If I feel like they need an extra rest, we'll just take an extra rest. Not a big deal. The goal, again, isn't to finish in the time. The goal is to finish in the time without thinking about it, so to speak. Best way I can say it, it's got to happen naturally. So we don't like those fake boobies. We like the big natties. So I don't know what that means. They're not real if you can touch them. All right, anyone else got anything? It is 11:10. Big Jim here has got to lift weights or whatever I do in the weight room. I got, oh my God, is it cold? Dude, it was negative 28 in Chicago. One of the days, well, it's not in Chicago, but whatever. Close enough. Oh my God, was that miserable. Anyway, all right, we got nothing else, brothers. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Thank you for asking questions. I hope I answered them appropriately and you got something out of it and you learned. I appreciate you all. As always, if you do something awesome this weekend, make sure you dress warm and take care of your body, but push yourself. Again, if you're in like a regular gym, man, do something awesomely dumb. I go over to a local gym and I push the prowler like an idiot just on the carpet. I must look like I'm bananas, but man, it's awesome. It's awesome to do something physically and emotionally exhausting. Real quick, hey Jim, have you ever listened to An On the Rock? Yes, the Codex Necro. I don't like their other stuff. I think that album rips. I don't really like some of their other stuff. What should my deload week look like in terms of volume? Well, you do your main lift, and then you do, again, I don't know what you usually do, but let's say you follow the program, you get, 3 to 4 exercises or so of assistance work. You should, instead of doing maybe 3 to 5 sets, you might do 2 sets. And you may have to back off some of the assistance work. For example, instead of doing your push, might be weighted dips, maybe you just do tricep push downs and extensions, so it's a little easier on your body. So you just back off a little bit, but you'll be fine. Just take whatever you usually do, maybe knock off, I don't know, 25%, but you should be in and out. You should feel good by the time you leave. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, you're not going to be pushing the same that you would normally do. And then obviously you use whatever deload week weights percentages that is appropriate for you, since there's like 15 of them now or whatever I did. All right, here we go, brothers. I'm time to go. Love you. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend. Stay warm. Get a fireplace.